Now, I want to move on to another story here involving football. Then that the Heisman Trophy ceremony is tomorrow. I'm not focused on that as much. I'm going to be honest with you because I think we know the winner of that's going to be Jaden Daniels. I couldn't, I take back what I said about him before. I couldn't care less that they lost 3 games this year. Dude balled out this year. Dude earned it, and he's going to earn it tonight or tomorrow night, rather. The question is about one of the other candidates and one Ohio State receiver, Marvin Harrison Jr. Now, obviously, Marvin is one of the most touted wide receiver prospects in a long, long time for the upcoming National Football League draft. Here's the thing, though, because the Buckeyes did not beat Michigan during Marvin's time there, because they did not win the Big Ten title game, because they did not make it to the back to the playoff again. There is a possibility that Harrison may decide to come back for one more season. There were reports that he and Trevion Henderson were given a ton of money in potential NIL deals if they were to stay. This is something that would be very unusual in an era where the college athlete is more business oriented than ever, and therefore you want to ensure your best chances of making it to the league and therefore making all the money and therefore getting the opportunity to play at the professional level. And with all the recruits that you would get for Ohio State, you'd think, oh, they'd be able to replace him no problem, even though it would be at least a slight step down because Marvin was so good. Do you see a possibility where they could garner back Marvin Harrison for one more year, try it one more time, try to get the rivalry win, and try to finish the job they couldn't over the last 2 years?
I think it's a real possibility. I don't want to talk myself into it because I don't want to get upset if he doesn't come back. Ultimately, it's so risky because if he comes back and gets hurt, Mitch, then you're going to have all the what if questions. Can he really outperform what he's done to solidify he's the best wide receiver in college football? I don't know if he can, but this seems more like a personal thing for Marvin Harrison Jr., and that's exactly what it should be because it's his career and it's his choice. This is somebody I feel like we almost haven't seen a wide receiver of this magnitude, at least in terms of the mentality he has of unfinished business, right? A lot of these guys, and rightfully so, opt to go to the NFL after the third year when they're ready because they want the money, they want to go play big time football, and there's nothing wrong with that. He's the first wide receiver or player of this magnitude in quite some time, I feel like, that has just flat out come out and said, I don't know, because I have goals and we haven't accomplished those goals. And if he leaves, I'm not going to hold it against him because he's probably going in the top 5 for sure, maybe even top 3. I could see him going as high as 2. If the Bears get the number 1 pick and they're comfortable with Fields, could they take him number 1 overall? Maybe. That's the beauty of having number 1 pick. Could the Bears trade it and then get somebody else? Maybe, but I just don't know. Obviously, I want him to come back because he is just an unreal athlete, unreal player, unreal wide receiver, a Heisman Trophy finalist. Hard to believe he wouldn't be there again next year if he comes back to Ohio State. The one thing you have to remember is with Kyle McCord transferring, they were high school teammates.
Yes.
Is Marvin Harrison Jr. willing to try to adapt to a new quarterback? Whether we think Kyle McCord was good, great, not good, bad, that doesn't matter. There was still chemistry there between him and Marvin Harrison Jr. from their days playing together in high school. I think it ultimately depends on who the quarterback will be at Ohio State next year. Will we find that out soon? Who knows? It looks like the Buckeyes are linked to a UCLA quarterback that has entered the portal, somebody they offered before he went to UCLA. There's a number of good quarterbacks in the portal. I don't know. Could it be something as simple as we're surprised and he wins the Heisman and decides to go to the NFL? I think that could play a factor. I don't necessarily think he's going to win the Heisman. I do think it's going to be Daniels from LSU. I don't think there's any Ohio State fan that would not take Marvin Harrison Jr. back. And I'm sure a lot of teams in the Big Ten would be very upset if he came back too, just because of the magnitude of player he is. And also the recruits Ohio State coming in at wide receiver, you bring him back, that just allows another guy to step up quicker while he's on the field and grow up a little bit faster. And I'm all for that. I don't know. I just don't know. It's tough because I want him to go to the NFL and be successful. I want him back here. I just don't want to see him make a decision that he comes back here and gets hurt, but you obviously cannot predict injuries. We remember what happened with Jackson Smith and Jigba, although he couldn't declare at the time. He had to come back for another year and then ultimately just got hurt and had to sit out, sit out, sit out. I'm kind of torn here. I really am. What about you?
Well, I mean, you want to talk about chemistry between McCord and Harrison. McCord threw for 24 touchdowns this year, just over 3,100 yards. Marvin Harrison caught 67 passes for over 1,200 receiving yards and 14 touchdowns. So Harrison accounted for over 38% of McCord's passing yards, a lot of them on big plays, and over 58% of the touchdowns that McCord threw. So the guy was productive for his former high school slinger. I think, though, with time, he'll be able to connect with another quarterback should he be want to come back. And it would be good to see him kind of help lead these younger receivers that are incoming. That being said, I just you're kind of playing with borrowed money in the sense if you bring Marvin back for one more year, because the second he has a significant injury or even a middle of the road injury,
Yeah.
or the team is out of playoff contention, like let's say they get maybe a shocking loss or two there in the early part of the season, he may just decide, hey, this isn't for me anymore, and just go and just do what Joey Boza did, just be like, I'm out, and that's the end of it. So,
At the same time, you look at what Joey or was it Nick Bosa?
well, it was
Was
Nick
it both
Bosa.
of
I'm
them?
sorry, yeah, I don't know why I thought it was Joey.
Nick. Well, it's okay. We had two of the greatest defensive ends in college football, and then two All Pro players in the NFL now. I can't see Marvin Harrison Jr. getting hurt and leaving the team in terms to get ready for the draft. He strikes me as somebody that is all about the team because his goals, Mitch, are team goals. He wants to beat Michigan. He wants to win a Big Ten championship. Yeah, you get a ring for winning the Big Ten championship, and we know you get the gold pants for beating Michigan, but he has team oriented goals. So I would have to think, even if something were to happen to him and he comes back and he does suffer an injury, which knock on wood, hope that doesn't happen, I still believe he would be a very positive influence at Ohio State in terms of helping those younger wide receivers, being in that room still, almost as a graduate assistant in some sense. I think he would be a huge help along with Brian Hartline, who has just flourished in terms of recruiting and getting wide receivers to where Ohio State now is almost considered wide receiver U, along with a few other schools in college football. I could be dead wrong. He could potentially get hurt and opt to go train back home and get ready for the draft, which if that happens, you can't knock him for that either. Um, I just truly think that Marvin Harrison Jr. has been one of the most likable superstars we have seen in college football in quite some time because everything he says and he does is the right way. He carries himself in the right way. He's never been in the news for anything wrong or been a bad teammate in terms of reports. So to me, it's a if he leaves, best of luck. I'm going to root for him wherever he goes. If he comes back, goodness gracious, I will gladly take him back. And you're probably talking about favorite for the Heisman next year. I don't know what's going to happen with Jordan Travis, how long he's going to be out for Florida State. I would have to assume those two are going to be at the top of the list, knowing that Bo Nix and Michael Penix Jr. will be gone. Jaden Daniels have another year eligibility if he wants to come back. I'm not entirely sure. I don't follow LSU football that much, but I'm kind of torn. I would gladly take him back though, because man, oh man, would that just keep this Ohio State offense in a groove? And whatever quarterback walks in here, then if we get one from the portal, what a life, what a luxury to have. Or if Ohio State says, "Hey, Air Nolan, 5-star freshman coming in, we're going to start using true freshmen." What a luxury that is for a freshman quarterback. I I don't know. I'm happy he has not been steadfast on he's leaving. It also, though, allows us as Ohio State fans to have this hope that he comes back, and then if he doesn't, we're going to be semi-crushed.